Now then, welcome to the latest instalment of RedArmy TV, a very special show and a record-breaking show for you this week. Guests on the couch, a couple of guys who've done a lot about local football. First of all, it's Marty Padgett, who's the chairman of the North Hornsby Juniors.
That's correct.
Yeah, great, and a big Boro fan.
And a big Boro fan.
Great to have you on the couch. And it's that big Boro fan bit which is the record-breaking bit, because Mark Carroll's with us. You're not a Boro fan, are you, Mark?
I'm not. No, I think you can see I'm not a Boro fan.
You're a Pooley. It's the first time ever on this show we've had anybody but a Boro fan sitting there. So welcome, mate. You're very welcome.
Thank you. I feel privileged. Thank you very much.
It's a very special weekend that's coming up, and it's the reason why we've got Mark with us. Marty will have your views too. We're going to touch on it further in the programme, but first and foremost, Mark, Hartlepool, the news we've heard over the last couple of weeks, devastating, could be out of business by the end of the month. We don't know what's going to happen at the moment. But Boro fans rallying to repay that debt from 1986. What does it make? What thoughts are going through your mind when you see what's happening?
Well, it's overwhelming, really, to see it happen. I look at the Just Giving page and I see, the donations from the Boro fans, £19.86, and that's replicated over and over and over again. And not just giving the money, but actually coming to the game as well, taking the time out to come and watch us and support Hartlepool. I'm sure they'll be very welcome wearing the Boro strips. It doesn't really matter. The North East and football around the UK has come together. We get a lot of bad press, football fans, but things like this demonstrate, that we come together and we'll help each other. And it could be Hartlepool one week, next week it could be another team. We've had Leighton Orient go through the same thing, and they got a lot of publicity. Probably more so because of the southern-based team. Yeah. But it means a lot to us to see, Middlesbrough fans come, because they don't have to. But it's nice that even people who maybe went supporting Boro in '86 recognise that without the time of playing the Victoria ground as it was then, there may not be a Middlesbrough football club, and the success you've had. And I like to try and see if we can take a little bit of credit for you winning a trophy.
Because we did go to win the League Cup, didn't we?
Yeah,
we'll get to the final of the UEFA.
We can slightly take a little bit of credit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Marty, what do you think as a proud Boro lad? I mean, you've been tied up with football in Dougie area for a long time, haven't you?
Yes.
What are you thinking at this moment in time when you see the Boro fans turning out en masse to help Hartlepool?
Oh, it's great. What I honestly would have expected as well is someone did mention it in the club I was with, in the Thornsby Workmen's Club, that lads from Hartlepool go around the riverside at the weekend with some buckets, and anyone who wanted to put money in, they could just shut it in. I thought they would have done that. If they'd have thought about it, maybe they could have done it. Yeah. It would have been a good gesture.
Well, something else. I mean, this is just the start, isn't it? Who knows what can happen? I mean, you might see, I don't know, Boro approaching Hartlepool and saying, "Do you want to play a game at the riverside?" Because Boro fans would turn out en masse for that one as well to support. Yeah. So, fingers crossed. It's the start of keeping Hartlepool alive, because we must. We'll talk about that a bit in a bit more depth a bit later on, but it is obviously a Boro fans TV channel. So excuse me for a moment. We're just going to throw the question to Marty. Defeated. That's why I'm wearing the black T-shirt, by the way. Defeat equals black T-shirt on this programme. A point or three, it's a red one. Defeat at the weekend. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yes, well, I was there, and they started well. The one thing I'm disappointed in, the like of Rudy Gestede, I saw Malonga. They've struggled. They have struggled. 26 games, Gestede. He scored 2 goals. Some Malonga, he scored 12.
Two great chances.
2 great chances. He had the header as well, and he missed. I was right behind the header, and he passed it. I thought, well, you just put it in the top corner of the net, and he struggled. And the other thing that I couldn't understand is, first half, they had Triori, and he was absolutely bombing down that right-hand side. He was beating the full-backs all the time. Second half, they put him on the left-hand side. And someone said, it's because they want Pulis wanted to keep up tabs on him, keep telling him what to do.
Karanka used to do that. Karanka used to say he plays on the same side as I'm on, so I can manage him during the game. Maybe it's the same thing.
No, if you're a footballer, he's 21-year-old, he should know exactly what he's doing. He shouldn't need treating like a baby on the sidelines like that. When he was on that right-hand side the first half, he was causing problems. As soon as you put him on the left, he was non-existent. If you'd left him on the right-hand side, I think you might have got a goal from Gestede. He had that many chances. And if he had done it, he probably could have done. But then he changed everything. He took Triori off, he brought Johnson on. And I don't like Johnson. I don't think he's good enough.
You don't think he's going to be
He's come from Oxford, Division 2, and prior to teams, I've looked at it, and he's been with small teams like Northern League teams. No disrespect to Northern League teams, but this is the first division, Championship, trying to get in they're back into the Premiership, and you don't bring players from the second division to replace the players that we've just lost.
You'd be loving to have this conversation, wouldn't you, as a Hartlepool fan?
Definitely,
we shouldn't have that lad from Oxford.
Yeah, it's if only we could sign a player from Oxford. Used to, like Northern League, that's what we're sort of looking for at the moment. We're looking for rough diamonds to turn to the players that we need. But I think even you look at the players that even in the lower leagues now, even lower than the National League, you look at the semi-professional teams, there's players there that they're getting paid well enough just to play semi-professional football, because the jobs that they have, the day job, and that together makes it not worth their while to take a 1-year contract from Hartlepool or a smaller team. But I think with Middlesbrough, they've dipped into the lower teams, and they've tried to maybe sign Nathan Thomas when we sold him to Sheffield United. There's good players out there, but it's obviously the pressure on Middlesbrough, the money they've spent, the fans expect, promotion. That is the be all and end all, isn't it? So maybe some of these players haven't got the time to bed in.
I mean, when he brought Traore on a couple of games ago, Purely said, he's livened the place up. The fans got behind him. The crowd got going. The team played better, which they did. And then he actually took him off and put Johnson on, and it just went dead. I was there, it just went dead.
I think what he has said, Pulis, to be fair, is he needs to have a look at players. So maybe that was his opportunity to see what Johnson can do.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, Clayton come on, and he proved he should be on the side. He never put a foot wrong. He never put a foot wrong. Clayton is the key to Middlesbrough football at this moment.
And there's question marks over whether he's going to stay. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks before that window shuts.
I hope he doesn't go.
Well, let's see what the gaffer had to say after the game, the 1-0 defeat, of course. These were his words in the press conference.
Well, I'm disappointed because I thought we were the better team, especially first half, and we created enough opportunities, enough chances to be 2 or 3 up at half time. I don't think Fulham did anything to hurt us in the first half, and we were the dominant force. Second half, we didn't play as well. Looking at Braithwaite's penalty, it's a real disappointing decision. Let's just put it that way. I think the big thing with managers in football or professional football, we understand and recognise that that referees are going to make mistakes. But when mistakes then affect the football match, then they should then be called into question. The disappointing thing is that they get a penalty at the end, which I think is harder to call than the one that we had. Yet he blew straight away. He didn't even think about it. So. That's very difficult to take, but he most probably has his reasons why. The biggest disappointment is that for the opportunities and the chances that we created, we should be, or you would expect the players in the team to take those chances.
So those were the thoughts of Boom Boom Depulis. Marty, obviously he was disappointed at the result. I'm sure he'll have taken some satisfaction out of the first half performance particularly. How about yourself? Is it all about results now? Do we have to be really greedy because we are slipping that further and further away from promotion? What
we have to do is win the home games. You've got to win the home games, and you've got to beat the teams around you, this is what we're not doing. We've only beat Sheffield United and Preston. We were lucky there, getting beat. We come back 3-2, but the teams below us, everyone's starting to beat them, so we've got to beat them. It's as easy as that. I mean, we've got QPR there on Saturday. Got to come away at least a point. Can't get beat. You've got to keep pace and keep in touching distance of the playoffs, because that second spot is for me is gone now. I just can't see us catching them up unless they have a bad break. Look at Cardiff, lost 4 games on the trot. Wolves are going through a little bit of a sticky patch at the moment. Villa, they won 1, beat us, then they go and get beat.
Well, let's get the views of the Boro fans outside the stadium. This is what you had to say about that 1-0 defeat.
Incredibly unlucky, but we ran ourselves into the ground. I think we didn't take our chances in the first half. Didn't really work the keeper enough for me, but then after 70 minutes we ran out of ideas. I think we just had no legs. So one of them games, we move on. Results went our way, I think, so that's not all bad.
Obviously we're miserable. First half, we played really well. Gusted had a couple of good chances. Should have scored at least one of them. The Sambalonger off the bar, and it's a sucker punch, isn't it? Just fed up.
The team played really well, but they haven't got a midfield engine. Ledbetter's finished, and so is Howson's rubbish anyhow. Never been good while he's been here. Traore is improving. Pulis has got him going, but he needs to get that midfield sorted out. If you don't have a midfield general, you don't have a team.
Well, there you go. Decent performance, disappointing result. As a Pooley fan, do you keep an ie on Boro results?
I do keep an eye on the results, yes I do. And then I listen to the phone in. There's a phone on the radio, local radio, but if they've lost I don't listen to it because it's depressing enough.
We always look for Pool's results. We do, and at half-time at the Riverside at home games, it's up there. Right, more in a second. Quick break.
Outside at the Riverside following Boro's 1-0 defeat to Fulham. Last minute penalty gave the visitors all 3 points after Oliver Norwood went down under Grant Leadbitter's challenge. It looked like a soft penalty, looked like he was already going to ground before Leadbitter made contact with him. Tony Pulis was more upset though about an earlier decision when Martin Braithwaite wasn't awarded a penalty for Thomas Callas's challenge. But Boro created more than enough chances to win the game today. A couple fell to Rudiger's stead. Martin Braithwaite also had a good chance in the second half, and Britta Sumbalonga, the substitute, hit the bar right before Fulham's penalty, but Boro couldn't take their opportunities. Fulham scored at the death and claimed all 3 points here.
Welcome back to the second half. We've got to catch up with some poll news. If you remember last week, Middlesbrough Football Club contacted fan groups and said, can you do us a quick poll, please? This music stuff that you get at goals, you know, I feel good when a goal's scored. The club were asking, do you like it? Do you not like it? Bizarrely enough, we ran it on Twitter, we ran it on Facebook, we got well over 1,000 votes, and it was 50-50. 50% said, depending on what platform you're on, it was 65% 35 on one, 35% 65 on the other, whether you want goal music or you don't. So it's clear as mud. 50-50 Boro fans, whether you want it or you don't want it. Who knows what's going to happen now? It's down to the club. But thanks for taking part and giving us your feedback. A couple of quick shout-outs. Mick McGee was the first one on. Good evening. Yeah, good evening, Mick. Nice to have you with us. Also, we've got Richard Smith. Richard sent us a message just before the show. He's just reminded us now. Thanks for that. I am getting a bit old, mate, so I could forget. Just seeing the piece you've done in support of Hartlepool FC. Great effort. I wish I was joining you, the Red Army, at Victoria Park on Saturday, but alas, I'll be keeping a watching brief from home in Scotland, up the Borough, and there's been many comments like that. Mark, we've seen lots of Borough fans obviously supporting. We've seen lots of comments from Hartlepool fans saying this is amazing. What's the feeling in the town?
I think the feeling in the town is we've got to keep our football club. You know, the football club is hugely important to the town. You know, we've had a lot of struggle in the last 10 years. There's been a decline, but we get crowds of averaging 3,500. You know, we were getting 3,500 in League Two when we were struggling. We're still getting that sort of attendance now. So people just want to rally around. They don't want to lose the football club. They don't want to see us have to start all over again. We need to really rally around and keep the club going and hope that this 200,000 gets us through another month and an investor comes. I know obviously Jeff Stelling is working on it, and maybe his public profile can attract somebody who, not really an investor, because you're not going to invest in Hartlepool and make a profit and make anything like that. We'd basically need a beneficiary to come in who's prepared to put the money in. But maybe he's that Jeff Stelling little element. You know, you see him on TV shouting Hartlepool all the time.
Don't worry, we try to claim him as a Borough fan, and we know he isn't. We know he's a Pooley, but so, absolutely.
Maybe somebody, you know, sees that and sees the support we're going to get on Saturday, and just basically thinks, yeah, I want to be involved in this. You know, you see the crowd's going to be, you know, about a 7,000 crowd, and thinking there's something there at Hartlepool. You know, they can be turned around. You know, it's going to take a few years. At the start of the season, I expected much better than we are on the field, but just at this moment in time, it feels that football's, you know, the results are sort of secondary, although they shouldn't be, because we're a little bit too close to
dropping down
again, like York City did, and that's the example to use that can happen.
Marty, how important from a community aspect is a football club? I mean, you're involved in North Ormsby Juniors, which is all community. That's what it's all about. We know Hartlepool is, you could argue, the toss over whether it's a community club now or whether it's a professional club. But from a community aspect, how important is the club to the town?
It's massive, absolutely massive. you know, on a Saturday, like my son will come down, and I don't see him all that often, but he come down, we go to the match and that. And a lot of other people who don't see their own friends, but they'll meet and they'll go to the Boro match or whatever match they're going to go to. And it's massive in this, for every single town that's had a football club. I mean, look at Sunderland now. Absolutely terrible. Newcastle, they're looking as if they're going on. But where Boro's concerned, you know, massive, and where Hartlepool's concerned, everyone's got to get together, you know, and just stick with it, you know, and Hartlepool have got to stick with it as well. I can see Jeff Stell, I can see him he's doing that walk for a prostrate. He does it every year, doesn't it?
He's doing a walk for Hartlepool.
And he'll do a walk for Hartlepool, he'll do the same. I could see him doing it.
Jeff, if you're watching, walk over the Transporter Bridge, mate. That'll be a good one. Do. There's no stairs at one end.
That's all he has to do, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You see the man is pledged to put his own money in.
Yeah.
If they can get somebody to come in, that is a tremendous thing. He doesn't have to do that, but he's prepared to put his own money into the football club if he can get people in, you know, even as a consortium to run the football club. But, you know, our home games, away games, you see the same people, you know, you've got a rapport with people, you know, you go for a few drinks at the away games. Yeah. It's just, you see the same faces and you get to know people, and it's for some people, it's everything to them. Sorry to interrupt you. So you go through the whole week at work, you might not have a very good week, but you come that Saturday, and that is sometimes what gets you through to
exactly.
to go to football.
You'll go in a club after the match, and all you'll do is for an hour is talk, and you'll argue. Yeah. Everyone will have their own opinion. What should have been, what shouldn't have been, who should have played, who shouldn't have played, and that's all part and parcel of a football club, of a football town.
Got lots of messages coming in from Boro fans, Hartlepool fans as well. We'll get through them very shortly. I did have a slip of the tongue there, I do apologise, but it's just because my producer's talking into my ear. I blame him entirely. But after we've picked up the latest social media news, and Matt's got the details.
Right, let's see what you've all been saying on social media this week, starting off with the game against Fulham at the weekend. A bit of a disappointing one. Starting off with Bob Mortimer, he said, very upset, I can't think straight. I am furious about yesterday's game. Drink my only option, #Boro. The White Feather stated, Boro still waste chances, refs are still incompetent. Happy New Year. Hutchie72, if you don't take your chances, then you leave yourself wide open to get beat like that. Fair enough comment. Also, Middlesbrough fans are showing their support towards the Hartlepool fans who are at the minute financially struggling. And we've received a lot of good feedback from the Hartlepool supporters, starting off with Dave Stead. He's put, brilliant, loving the Smoggies right now, much appreciated. And Tony Norman wrote, well done, one and all, we thank you. Keep your social media comments coming into us here at Red Army. Back to you, Dave.
Right, there's the views, a couple of Hartlepool views as well on social media, and you've been getting your messages through #RedArmy TV if you want to be part of it. Stuart Wallace, ticket arrives for QPR. Hope Tony Pulis has seen enough not to start Rudy. Ooh. He agrees with you, obviously. Yeah. But on a Hartlepool theme, Stuart Wallace. I'll be keeping an eye on Twitter on Pool's game. Good luck, lads. I was one of the genuine Boro fans who was at the Victoria Ground in 1986. Alistair Craig would love to have gone on Saturday to support Hartlepool, but he's otherwise tied up. Up the Boro from Diane Stockton, thank you. Richard Smith, Hartlepool FC cannot be allowed to die. It's a Boro fan, by the way. #save the Poolies. Yeah, I mean, get your comments in. It's great to have them. Though we're Boro fans, obviously, for the weekend, we're Boro fans with half an eye on QPR and half an eye on the Vic as well to see what's happening. Can we save Hartlepool? It's an awful question to ask because we don't know exactly how big the debt is.
No, well, there's obviously the Supporters Trust have been asking to see the books, but at this point in time they haven't. The investors were asked to show £3 million that they had cash ready to see the books, and people have seen them. I think Jeff Stelling by now has probably seen them because he's speaking with an investor. I think it can. Obviously, at this moment in time, we've always ran with about £1 million a year loss. When IU in charge for a long time, they subsidised that £1 million loss, and that was when we were in like League One, League Two. So there is that loss, but I think now the problem is that now we've had a couple of years where there's been loans taken out and the debt has grown, and now they're losing a lot more than really they should be losing. You know, we're talking sums of, You know, if we've gone from 100,000 a year, let's say, to 120, 130,000, and this month on top of that we've got a tax bill to pay. So
that's about 200 grand.
About 200 grand, and this is why we need to try and just buy some. Basically, this whole thing is buying some time and hoping that there's an investor out there, because we know even if they make an offer, the legal side of things, not that you don't sell a house overnight.
No,
it takes time. So we need to buy time.
Got to keep the club running until that moment comes. We'll finish off looking ahead, fellas, but first, before we do that, let's catch up with the latest goings-on in and around Boroland. Here's Joe Nick. He's got Boro in 60 seconds.
Hello, I'm Joe Nicholson and welcome to Boro in 60 seconds. We begin by offering our congratulations to Glenn Durant, who won his second BDO World Darts title on Sunday. Duzza, a big Boro fan who famously hit 3 bullseyes in a row on this very show, set pulses racing on Teesside before beating Mark McGurney 7-6 in the final. If you want to catch up with Duzza, he'll be holding a special event at the Riverside on Sunday the 25th of March. Former referee Jeff Winter will host the evening, comedian Nick Munro and Craig Hignett will also keep you company. Staying with Higgy, the Boro legend celebrated one of 3 birthdays this week, along with Tony Pulis and Ben Gibson. And finally, have you got your tickets sorted for QPR but still need to sort out your travel? There are still seats available on the RedArmy TV coach. If you want to reserve your seat, just get in touch with the show. That was Boro in 60 seconds.
Thanks for that, matey. Joe Nick with the Boro in 60 seconds. Fellas, we're just about out of time. We've been talking too much. Mark, I'll start with you. Thoughts for the weekend ahead? Boro fans, Hartlepool fans standing side by side. Well, the best atmosphere I've ever had at the Victoria Park was last season, and the last day of the season we got beat by when we beat Doncaster but got relegated. The atmosphere was electric. That's what I want to see again. Brilliant. Fellas, thanks for coming in. We'll catch you next time. Cheers. Bye-bye.